Hello and welcome back to the Stellium Astrology podcast. I'm Stephanie James and you're listening to a podcast episode dedicated to teaching you how to generate your own natal chart and where you can access free astrology software. So, the software that you can access to do this is on a website called Astrodienst, or as most of us call it, astro.com. So that's www.astro.com. I will add a link in the description. And Astrodienst is unbeatable for its encyclopedic quantity of astrological information and data available. And the most incredible thing about this website is that it's completely free to sign up, with the capacity to store 100 charts with a free account, or up to 1,000 charts if you decide to subscribe. And the subscription fee, the last time I checked, was €8 a year. So it's a real steal, actually. And I would highly recommend that you should go and immediately create an account with astro.com. Maybe perhaps even while you're listening to this episode, I can talk you through it and help you to understand exactly what to do. And basically, there are options on there, so you can cast natal, which is the birth chart, synastry, which is relationship charts when you've got more than one chart that you want to put together, composite charts, which is a type of synastry chart, and then there's transits, progressions, directions, asteroids, fixed stars, hypothetical points, astrocartography, astromapping, and so much more. There really is something for everyone. It's an incredible tool. And in addition to all of that, there's also a 9,000 year Swiss ephemeris available to download. So you can download each year that you need. Special body ephemeris files for comets and asteroids, and AstroWiki, which is a free encyclopedia of astrology, and Astro Databank, which is the most trusted compendium of astrological chart data available on the internet. So I don't know if my sales pitch has worked on you, but it totally should have, because to get all that stuff for free is totally crazy, but they're doing it, so take advantage. And the person who... So it's kind of interesting, because last summer I was at an astrology conference in the UK, the Astrological Association Conference, and it was quite a dramatic conference for a number of reasons. But this was the zero drama bit, which I enjoyed quite a bit, which was, I think, my first night that I arrived, and I was hanging out with a few astrologers that I've met at previous conferences. And in India, there was a lady there that I'd met in India, so I was sitting with her, Nicola Smuts. And hi, Nicola, if you're listening, shout out to Nicola, Fertility Astrology. And so I was sitting next to Nicola and we were talking away, and I was sitting next to a gentleman who was drinking a glass of red wine and wearing a white suit, and I was getting kind of anxious because I was worried he was going to spill his red wine on his suit. And it was after a little while of talking that I realised that it was Alois Trendle, who is the founder and director of Astrodienst, this website that I'm referring you to. And so he was born in Germany, and he came to Zurich, Switzerland in 1976 as a research assistant in the physics department of the Swiss Federal Institute. And he graduated from the institute with a PhD in physics in 1981, and during his graduate time he started to be interested in various areas beyond the limits of conventional science, so things like humanistic psychology, states of altered consciousness, parapsychology, and also astrology, which he found really helped him to bring all of the fields that he'd learnt about and put it under one roof. So I just thought it was quite interesting, because you don't necessarily associate the fluffy pseudoscientific, which unfortunately astrology does get lumped in with pseudoscience, sort of area of astrology into, you just don't normally associate people. You wouldn't think, people with PhDs in physics and things like that are going to be interested in astrology. Well, you'd be surprised. There are so many. And, it's a very interesting, very amazing subject, which just helps you explore yourself on such a great level. So it's really nice when you get somebody with such an academic background who has done so much for the field of astrology. It really is incredible. He's obviously a computer programmer, so he's created this amazing resource for people to use. Now, I mentioned that you can have 100 free accounts, or if you subscribe, you can have 1,000. I did talk about Astro Databank. Now, Astro Databank is great because it's very trusted, because a lovely lady called Lois Rodden, who I believe was a very close friend and mentor to the principal of the London School of Astrology, and a great source of inspiration to me, Frank Clifford. So Lois Rodden, she created a system, a rating system of charts with an A or a double A, which is really, really trusted. And then A, I think, was for kind of like memory. So double A would be where the chart you've got the birth time on the birth certificate, which doesn't always happen in this country. I think they do it in Scotland, but there are some disputes over how accurate even that would be. But if you've got your birth time, I happen to get mine from my medical records, which I got from my doctor, which, by the way, if you'd like to claim your medical records, all you have to do is put in a subject access request. It's a legal requirement now due to General Data Protection Regulation in the UK, which is the GDPR, if you've not heard of it before. And you can get your medical records sent through to you. However, it's not really likely that your medical records are going to detail your birth time. I was actually quite shocked to see that mine was on there, and I hadn't even got them for that reason. I was actually interested in just tracking my transits over my, over my life in patches where I hadn't got diaries to cover it. But anyway, my birth time in my medical records puts my birth data as a double A rating. And then you've got, I think A is more like, mum's memory is quite credible, but maybe not some mums who are just probably a little bit overwhelmed and shocked by the whole birth and just didn't even look at the clock. And then you've got, it gets less reliable from there. B is quite reliable, but it's not totally. I think maybe B might be if it's mentioned in an autobiography. And then I think C may be if it was like mentioned in an interview on TV. Somebody said, I think it was raining on the day of my birth. I believe I heard the church bells ringing. I think it was probably around 6 o'clock in the evening. Something like that. And they'd mentioned it on TV. Or, in an interview. And then you've got things like the double D, which is dirty data, which is just totally unreliable birth data, completely unreliable. And then you have X, which is just there's no birth data available. You've just got the birth date. Possibly even you don't have the location. So, it's not as accurate, that kind of astrology. But it's still interesting if you're sitting down watching TV and something comes up and you think, I wonder what that person's birth data says about them. And you Google their birth time, calculate a chart. You can put in like the sunrise, or you can put the midday time, and, gives you a rough idea of their sun and moon placement. So that's kind of the rating system, which is why Astro.com is very trusted, or Astro Databank is very trusted in its data accuracy. And so that's one side of things that's really interesting about it. And then the other side of things, the Astro Wiki, is literally like a Wikipedia of astrological information. It's you've got astrology information on Wikipedia, which some of it is quite interesting and some of it's quite accurate, but I don't think it really has that kind of understanding that you would get from a website that is basically built around astrology. So it's a it's just an amazing resource. Like I said, it's just really, really amazing, and you should definitely take advantage of it. Now, let me explain how to create your birth chart. Oh, I forgot one other thing. The other thing that's really great about astro.com is there are lots of free horoscopes on there. So once you've created your chart, you can then go in and have a look at the short report forecast by Robert Hand, or Rob Hand as he's known. And then there's some, I think there's some synastry reports that you can look at by Liz Green. And there's a number of things that you can explore on there. So it really is an amazing tool. And as I have urged you so much already, I urge you again to go into astro.com and explore. So I have written a blog post on this, so you can actually check out my blog post if you'd like to see a little step-by-step with images. But I will talk you through it anyway. So in a nutshell, you need to log in, create a profile, enter your details, add new astro data, select the desired chart, go to extended chart selection to create your settings, and then click to show the chart. That's literally the process, but let's do it step by step. So you can go to the top right hand corner of the home screen of AstroDienst or astro.com, and all you have to do is look, there's a bit that would say not logged in, so you can just press login next to it, and it'll ask you to create a free registered user profile. Now on my website, I think actually that screen may actually be highlighted in red anyway, the little link that you need to click on, but it's got a little green man next to it. So all you need to do is create a free registered user profile, enter your details on the following screen and select OK, and it will prompt you to do this twice, unless they've updated their website and they don't anymore, but from my last recollection they did. Now what you need to do is add new astro data. In the user profile overview window there is a little link at the bottom, and that should just pop up in front of you, so it shouldn't be too hard to find, but there's a little bit there that said add new astro data, which you can see in the post that I've written, and then you can input the chart details into the required fields and press continue. So there's a bit that says birth date entry, so you can put in your name, gender if you want to specify, birthday, the hour and minute of birth if you've got that information, and if you don't you could just put midday or sunrise or midnight, whatever you prefer. My personal choice would be to go for midday because it means that the moon is going to be at the slap bang middle position of the day, rather than if you did a midnight chart it's like right at the beginning of the day, so you wouldn't really necessarily be able to see whether or not it was actually going to change signs or not if it was right at the end of the sign. So with a midday chart, it's kind of like an average overview and kind of gives you a sort of a professional outlook of that person, of that individual. And then you have to put in the country and the birth town. But there's a nice little teaser in the corner of that box, and it'll tell you the sun and moon and ascendant of the person whose data entry, your birth chart data you're entering in. So it gets you all excited to see the chart when it pops up. Then you need to select the desired chart. So it'll bring up your stored astro data and you should have just one there, which will be yours. And then you can select that link and it will take you through to a window which offers you lots of different things. So from what I can see here, you've got the child's horoscope, children and young people, direct atlas query, your VIP astro twins, which is interesting because that has all the people that they've got on the data bank that share your birth date, or it's your kind of your solar twins, and maybe even people born on the same day as you. So that's an interesting one to look at. But what I want you to look at is the extended chart selection. You can go to chart drawing ascendant, and that's fine, you can go there quick, it just calculates it for you. But extended chart collection selection, it's good to familiarise yourself with that because it's some of the settings. So you've got a reset button there, and that can help you to remove all modified settings. You won't need to press that the first time you go in. Start date for charts marks with star allows you to input the date you'd like to view the planets as transits and displays them around the outer part of the wheel in green. So if you don't input that, it'll just put that day's date. But if you wanted to look at the transits for a date that you had back in 1993 specifically, you could enter that chart, that date, and it would bring that up around the wheel. The house system allows you to experiment with different house systems. The default one will be Placidus. I would urge you to experiment with equal house initially because it's just a little bit easier to understand the chart. It's equally divided. Everyone's brought up differently. I was brought up on equal. And additional objects are anything else you'd like to displayed on the wheel from the box at the bottom of the screen. So if you wanted to select more than one at a time, you press CTRL on the keyboard and then click on the ones that you want. And that's using Windows. I think possibly on Mac it might be CMD that you need to press, Command, and then click it. And then once you've done that, you can show, I think you press, oh yes, I think that's literally it. You select what you want and then you click here to the show the chart. And that's literally, it'll bring it up. I would say don't bother putting anything additional in when you first calculate it. Literally just calculate the natal chart wheel. Go for, it says here chart drawing style, web default style, stick with that. I'd go for equal house system. And you can, once you've got the settings you like, you can, I think on the next window when it brings up the chart, it says save, set as default settings. You can do that. And then the next time you go in, it'll have everything that you've selected. So it's worth playing with it. And I'll explain at a later date what some of the other things, but it'll ask you about house system and zodiac. We will talk about houses later on. Zodiac, we will talk about that too. But you definitely want to leave it as Western geocentric tropical, because that's what I'm teaching you. Okay. If you want to go to another podcast and learn about sidereal or Vedic or different areas, be my guest. But over here, you're going to be learning about Western geocentric tropical, because that's what I do. And it's the kind of astrology that we practice in the West anyway. So, I know a lot of Vedic astrologers in the West, but it's generally, this is our style over here. Now, once you've shown the chart, it'll come up. You've generated your drawing. You can switch the transits on by clicking the button that says show transits or with transits. And you can, like I said, save your default setting if you like the settings that you've got. And if you want to change things, you can go back to chart selection and go back in and add extra bodies and look for asteroids and things like that. So that's basically in a nutshell how to do it. I'll include a link with the walkthrough that I've got from my website. And if you're not really interested in creating an account with astro.com, you can just go to the link on my website, which helps you can generate a chart, create your birth chart on my website. I'll send the link I'll put the link at the bottom of this description as well. So I'll explain in future episodes how you can get into more detail of reading the chart, but for now you should be totally mesmerised by this fascinating, mysterious wheel of information shrouded with symbols, and it really is something that you suddenly just want to really explore. So we'll go into that in the next episode. But for now, thank you. If you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe, please rate, and please review. It helps other people find me who are looking for this kind of information. And if you'd like to be more involved, you can send me your chart details. All you have to do is subscribe, and I'll send you all the information through the subscription link. And I can then analyse your chart and include it in future episodes of the podcast where I think it will fit. So thank you very much for listening to today's episode. I hope you have fun generating your natal chart and pondering over the symbols. If you can't wait until next episode, you can start clicking around astro.com to find out what all of it means. But I will help you unpick the mystery of your natal chart in the coming episodes. But first, I will include a little bit of information about some of the astrology books that I think you'll find so helpful. So please do tune into the next episode. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to the first couple of episodes that I've recorded, which go into a little bit about the chart of Stellium, the Stellium Astrology podcast, and also a little bit about the mission of the podcast, me, who I am, where I've come from, and what I'm all about. So thanks very much for tuning in. Come say hi on social media, and don't forget to subscribe, rate and review. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye-bye.